Hello, everyone. My name is Katy, and welcome to the Greenland Quilter channel. I have a new guest on my podcast today. Her name is Susan, and she's from Butler Family Farms. And I'm so excited about this because we get to talk about a multitude of things. So, Susan, why don't you say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Katy. First, I want to say thank you for asking me to do this. I've been on chats with Cheri before, and I think I've done one or two by myself. So this is a little different, without having my sidekick. But I'm, ready to go. We've been um, out here in Missouri on our farm for 20 years this fall, and we've evolved in different ways through that, which has been kind of nice to do. It's just husband and son and I at the most. I have another son living at the other end of our property that helps out with some of the work around here, but we've kind of got it down to a science, and so I have a lot of free time to do my hobbies and things like that. So
That's
that's
outstanding.
yeah, Navy brat, moved around a lot as I was a kid, and we lived in San Diego for 20 years, and then we moved out here for another 20. So we're working on marriage of 42 this year. So that's been kind of a, you know, oh, just something that doesn't happen very often, I guess. Is,
Yeah.
because everybody's, you've been married that long to him? And I said, yeah, we made it work.
So, out of curiosity, how long have you and Jerry been married?
41 years. We're working on 42 this summer.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
extraordinary. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So,
It,
go ahead.
I was just going to say it's always a work in progress. You
Yeah,
just you,
that's
you just don't can't get stalemate, and that's why we've done some of the things that we've done just to generate new interests and keep the conversation going. That's a big thing.
so when you two first started out with the farm, since you said you've had it 20 years, what kind of expectations or plans did you have in the beginning that has evolved over time to now?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, it wasn't a spur of the moment. Some friends live out here that we had from San Diego, and we had visited quite a bit. And when we moved out here, we were in our 50s, and retirement is looming up, and we just could see how the way politics were going. We just knew we weren't going to be able to afford retirement in California. So
Yeah.
we decided to move out here. Cheri scoped out the area and found a few places to look at. And I came out here for, I think, a Thanksgiving. Anyway, we went around and looked, and I said, I don't want, a lot of hills, but I don't want it flat either. And I said, a house is okay if it, kind of fits, or it fits what we do size wise and whatever, but we can figure something else out. So we found this piece of property, didn't have a house on it, was agriculture, and it's deemed agriculture within the county. So we ended up buying it, and the previous owner leased it out to a guy that raised corn on it. So we just continued with that. And then the cycle is you do corn, then you do soybeans, then you do wheat. And that way your
Yeah.
grass, your ground doesn't get, all eaten up with the same thing over and over and over. So we did that for a few years. The problem is that, we did okay. We were still working, and we were doing okay, but we didn't have the equipment needed to do crops. We had
Mhm.
to have somebody come in and do that. So Cheri worked for agricultural company, and started learning a lot of stuff. And he actually has a degree in some ag business that he, took college out here. And he came home one night and he says, I've been thinking. I said, oh crap, what's going on now? And he says, well, wouldn't it, when we're older, wouldn't it be easier just to open up a gate and call a few cows to come and move them from here to there than to, constantly be borrowing equipment or paying somebody to do it, dependent upon the weather to have these things done. And if you're borrowing equipment, you're borrowing it from somebody who needs to do the same thing pretty much, or you're paying somebody to do it, and they've also got, farms and stuff. I said, yeah, that makes sense. So we actually evolved the farm into cattle or into a cow herd. We don't do dairy; they're meat cows, and we had goats already. We had meat goats, so that's been the evolving part, and it's actually been kind of nice because we've got most of our herd trained. The babies take time, but the older ones are trained to, when we open up the gates and we say head them up, move them out, let's go, find a leader, whatever, they will move out of one paddock into one field, into a direction we want them to go into the next field, and have relatively extra time to chase them down, chase the little ones down. They're moving quite well, and that's where we've evolved, is that it's a cattle business, and it's less time consuming. We put hay out, we move them, the water, we work them twice a year. We sell them off to the babies, off to the calves, off to the auction, and that's about it. The other animals are just, food and water, and check to make sure everything's okay, So that's how we've evolved the farm.
Was there someone who influenced you to do a farm thing, or you both just you wanted to give it a try?
We both like the outdoors, and in my younger years before Jerry, I'd always wanted to live out in the country, just a small little place, and not really have neighbors like right on top of you next door within, however they're doing it now with condos and stuff. And Jerry's been an outdoor person too, as well. He grew up in a small town area, not in the Los Angeles, bedroom community, but we just wanted to be out and about and do our own thing. And these friends of ours moved out here from San Diego to Neosho, actually. And the original intent was Jerry and his friend were going to raise horses, but then they closed down all the I'm going to say, I hope nobody gets offended, but they closed down the slaughterhouses. So that means that people with older horses had to keep them, and so there was no market for new breeds, or, new babies and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of fell through. We already had the crops on the property, so that we just molded that in. Jerry went to school and learned a lot of stuff about agriculture and about, the animals, and still have some really good contacts with the college. So we just kind of winged it. He had some good mentors and respected members of the community, so that helped a lot too. Once we got past the stigma of being from California, because to this day, even, you say you're from California, oh, you've got lots of money, and they want to help you spend it. And we looked at him, we said, not now, not anymore. We're on, we've learned, but there was like that.
I'm from Florida.
Exactly. Yeah. So we weren't influenced to do it. I guess we just had that unknown dream, and it was able to come true. And so we've just made it work.
What is your favorite part of farming?
I think when the babies are born, I like going out. I like to have the cow herd close by, so I can walk out there every day and start checking and looking for new babies, out there. And I do lots of shorts for the channel when a new baby comes by. My goats, my female goats got bred a little sooner than we wanted, because the male jumped the fence and got in with them, because there's smells going on and whatever. So I imagine anytime going forward, I'll start having, babies. Last year we started, I think, the end of January, sometime in February. And we were actually hoping to have them later in the quote unquote winter, because winter actually starts now in January, but you wouldn't know it outside right now. But anyway, boer goats, which is what we have, BOER, are from originally from South Africa. And so they're more of a warm climate type. They don't like the winter. So you really have to watch them when they're pregnant, and be out there and help them. And a couple years ago, I started putting little small doggy sweaters on them, and little baby onesie twosies on them, just to give them a little extra warmth. And I actually blockade them into an area so that they don't have to be, mom's not out roaming all over and the babies are looking for mom so they can nurse. I have them in a maternity ward of sorts. They have a little hut, and they're fenced in for several weeks until they get going and get that survival instinct going.
So do you
So the
use
babies are my
livestock?
favorite.
Yeah, I figured the babies would be. I was going to ask. Um, do you have livestock guardian dogs to help protect your whole
No,
animal herd?
no. Originally, when we got our goats after we first got here, we got a llama. And the reason we did that is because llamas eat the same food that goats. So if you go out and feed the goats, you're feeding the llama. Whereas if you have for us, a guardian stock dog, excuse me, you have to go out and feed that dog separately, his dog food, her dog food, and then feed your animals. So we just
Mm.
combined it with the llamas. So the llamas are in with the goats, and I don't have anybody out with the cows, but I do have a male donkey that was out with cows. But we have our animals are close. We have 116 acres and divided up into 8-acre plots, and they're close enough to where we can get out there within 5 minutes to go out and do a check and whatever. So I no, we didn't go the dog route.
Do you have any natural predators you have to worry about?
Well, there are coyotes, and we did have a fox at one time that was running in the paddock where the goats are, and Jerry got that. And the Missouri Conservation says if it's a predator animal, even if there's no season, then that's not a big deal. But if there's a season for that animal and you take care of it out of season, that's okay because you're protecting your animals. You're just not out hunting to be hunting. You're protecting your
Okay.
animals.
Okay.
So that's what
Gotcha.
happened with the fox. But coyotes, I've had raccoons get my chickens. Um,
I didn't know raccoons like stealing chickens. That's new for me.
well, this one actually got into my coop, and it has a regular door and then it has like a doggy door, but it's a chicken door
Mhm.
that they go in and out. And sometimes I would close it, some nights I would, and then I get out of the habit and I wouldn't. And this one night, I think I didn't close it, and the raccoon actually went into the coop and killed the chickens inside. So then we tried to, stop that, and we put a game camera out there. And the next night, the raccoon got some more, and then the third night, the game camera picked it up, and Jerry was able to get the raccoon, but they literally wiped out my flock at that time. And then I had just last fall, a coyote had come through, and they usually don't come very close, but this one did. And we have these, I call them movie theater lights. The
Uh,
not not the inside lights, but when you go to the outdoor movies, the drive-ins, we have these lights that are up, and they come on. They come on when there's movement. And my son was outside on the porch, and the lights came on. And he thought that's really weird because all the dogs were in the house. There's nothing to be out. And he actually saw something go down the side of our property, down the corral to the road, and then saw the coyote go across the road. Well, the next day I found my chickens; they were all dead. So I
gee,
lost another flock. So,
it's
and
expensive.
it can be. I'm pretty lucky. I have a couple sources that
Yeah.
they have contracts with the chicken farms out here that when the guys they only let chickens stay in these houses for X amount of months, because when I buy them they're like anywhere from 10 to 12 to 14 months old, and they're anywhere from $3 to $5 each, which isn't too bad,
No, that's not bad at all. I mean, I'm surprised you got chickens.
overall. I know. And then overall, there's, they start get their, acclimated to everything, and they get back in the habit doing their laying. So within a couple of days, they're laying eggs again. So
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
to wait for the chicks to grow up.
So, what is the thing that you dislike the most about farming?
I think it's the weather that bother the weather. I don't mind the snow and the winter time after, it's done with fall because the leaves do change colors and drop off and whatever. But it's very brown, and it's an ugly brown, and it's depressing. So I think
Yeah.
that part of the year is what I don't like, because we still have to go out and break ice for the animals, because it freezes when the temperatures stay low day and night. We have to go out and do ice. Don't like that. But
Yeah.
we
Yep.
don't have a setup for heaters or anything like that, and we won't ever, because the waters are too far away from the house to plug in, to put in an extension cord or something. And a light pole would be a little bit expensive too. So I would say the winter, because even if you don't go out in the morning, you still have to go out in the afternoon. It's still cold.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't mind. But I don't mind in the sense that I like the change of seasons. I like the season changes, so I don't mind it there. But it's actually going out and having to do. And we mainly just feed and water the animals and change bedding whenever it's necessary for like the chickens or the goats and stuff like that. We don't do any projects per se outside during the winter, so it's kind of like a little
Okay.
vacation in a
You like
sense.
a vacation, yeah.
Yeah,
So you have chickens, goats, cows, and llamas. Do you have one llama or have
I
several
have
or
father and I have father and son right now. My female passed a couple years ago. We are kind of looking for another female, because the two that we have, the father and son that we have, they're like Appaloosa. They're not just your straight brown or straight. It's an Appaloosa with the white, and their fur is just really pretty. So we just need to find another female so that Sparky has a girlfriend.
well,
You would
that's
be a
cool.
good.
So,
You would be.
so those are the only animals you have?
No, we still have one horse that's left,
Okay.
and he's 16 now, but he thinks he's a teenager. And I have three donkeys, two girls and a boy,
Oh,
and they have a baby. They alternate years, the girls on when they have a baby, and I guess I'm kind of waiting for one because it's been a while. I have to check my records. So goats and cows, llamas, chickens. We have a couple rabbits. Jerry's doing rabbits again. He's going to get some females from the couple resourceful homestead, resourceful life homestead. Anyway, Arkansas couple that are just like down the road from us. And
okay.
then we have some dogs and we have cats, domestic animals.
Okay.
So
So,
that
out of all the animals you have, which group of animals do you think has the most personality?
wow, let me think. Well, the calves, the heifers, they get this little giddy up, and they got this little dancy kind of thing that they do. And the donkeys, they sing out a lot. Um, all my chickens, when I have them, are Gertrude. They know when I come outside, so they're following me, like, protect,
Mm-hmm.
all of them. I don't think I really have a favorite. I really don't think I have a
Okay.
favorite. The goats have their personalities as well as, and I can talk to the cows, the mama cows. They all have names. The bull has a name. We aren't naming calves that are born unless we're going to keep them, and
Yeah.
we aren't going to keep. Well, we aren't going to keep any babies from this year because people will do it. I don't believe in it, and I told Jerry that I really don't want to do it, but you can breed a daughter back to a father. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. When we moved here, the big industry, which kind of goes against my this kind of a theory in a sense, um, are dog breeders. It's a big thing in Missouri and
Yeah.
the neighboring states that we have. And I went to work for the president of a company of a puppy brokerage, and I had to make adjustments in my thinking of how I felt about all of this. For a job, because that was important for us at that time. I was the main person working. Jerry had a part-time job, and then he went to college, and then after that he went to work for MFA. So they do that. Some people do breed their dogs like that, and I just can't do that. I won't do that. So we have a new bull. we did keep a couple of his girls from 2025 because of their coloring. We won't keep any this year in
Yeah.
2026. We'll sell them, as well as we'll sell the steers, because that's the purpose of having the breed is, is the quote unquote additional income, because when you retire, you plan for it, or you think you've planned for it, but then things have changed from the time you start doing this planning to when you actually do it. And there's all these little glitches that come up, and prices keep changing, so it's really good to have that quote unquote third income, because
So do you take one of the calves every year and raise it to eat, or
we are this year. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
we've got one lined up. He's out. We have what we call a mini herd because along with not doing line breeding, our heifers need to be at least 18 months old before we put them back out with a bull to be
Oh,
mamas. Because if you breed too early in that heifer's life, you're going to lose her and the baby, and that has
yeah.
happened to us. So we have what they call a mini herd, what we call a mini herd, the 4 females that we're keeping from 2023, 2024. And then the 2 steers that are going to be freezer meat are in with them too. So they're off by themselves, and then we have the big herds. So we do have one for this year that's going to go to freezer camp pretty soon. And then there's
On
one
your
that freezer camp is the freezer. We
Yeah, I
do
know
have.
what it means.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm sorry.
You're uh, and if even anyone doesn't know what that means, just ask the question in the comment section and we'll answer that question.
Yeah.
Trying to
Well, I
keep it
had to learn.
G-rated.
I yeah, I had to learn a new word because I convinced Jerry. I can't convince him to raise pigs for
Yeah,
the
I was going to
freezer.
ask that question. I was going to ask
Well,
that question.
he just won't do it. He believes they tear up the ground too much. If because it's just he just doesn't want to. But it's okay because he has a guy that he worked with at his agriculture job that raises pigs. So we just buy one of his pigs and have it taken to the
Yeah,
butcher for that. So
you
that's how
can
we do
use
that.
you can use dispatcher, butcher. That's not.
Dispatch, yeah, dispatch was the word I had to learn. I said, why do they? But what is it? I don't understand how that means. What it means. He said, well, I don't either, but
It's a
that's what you
new
say. I said,
word
okay,
so that
yeah,
YouTube won't flag your behind.
right. So I couldn't convince him about pigs, and that's okay because it would sadly to say, it probably would end up to be my responsibility to be out there feeding them because
Mhm.
I just do that. He has the other thing. He really does the YouTube thing, and I feed everybody, so that's okay. But I did, excuse me, convince him because it's a short period of time, if done right, to raising meat chickens. And
I was going to ask about
so
that.
yeah, so we buy them as chicks and raise them up to be about 8 weeks old, maybe 9 weeks at the most. I'm telling you, Katie, those chickens, they get to be 7, 8 pounds, and then we decide how many we want to keep whole and how many we want to do as legs and thighs because we like quarters, and then we do wings. And then the first year we didn't do the breast, but the second year I convinced him with some help from some other ladies that ugly chicken is a good thing to have. An ugly chicken is the breast cut up into pieces, shoved into a jar, and then water bath, pressure cooked. And when you
Mhm.
look at it in the jar after it's all done, it's ugly. So that's why I call
Yeah.
it ugly chicken. So we did that. But the first and second time we did the chickens, we left them, some of them whole. Those are monsters. It's just like, and I wasn't, going to throw anything away. I ended up giving some of it to the dog. But one whole chicken was like every night, eating chicken. So this
Could you
last
not
time I,
harvest them sooner?
pardon me?
When they could you not harvest them when they reach like a 4 or 5 pound size?
No, no, the recommended is 8 to 10 weeks. That's
I don't
when,
think chickens that are that huge.
yeah. Well, this year, this time, and we have enough chicken that we're not going to raise chickens this year in 2025. we did in the fall, which was a good time to do it because we've done it in the when it was like hot. It was awful. But anyway, I
Mhm.
said, let's take our whole chickens, the number of whole chickens we're going to keep, and cut them in half, because a half a chicken
Yeah.
gets used up, and then that makes it last a little bit longer too. So
Mhm.
that's what we did. So
That makes
we still have some chickens from 2024, and now we've got 2025 out there, and so we decided we think we've got enough to make it through 2026 without raising anymore, and then we'll do some in 2027.
yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see how that goes. So anyway,
Do you eat any goat meat too, or is that not meat goats?
they are meat goats, and we take them to auction. There was one that we did grind it. He broke his leg, and Jerry called his friend who ran a college guy that ran a processing place, and we took it in, and we had goat hamburger, which is okay because I mix it all up with other things, and we do what we call Taco Friday, and I've kind of changed the menu a little bit. So we just had goat meat for tacos. I think I did spaghetti once. I can't remember, but we don't normally do that with the goats.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel. And I know you said that Jerry runs it mostly, but when did you start it and the name of it so people know how to find it? And tell
Well,
us, I've noticed that
okay,
it's grown a lot in the last year of my getting to know you guys on Tuber Chat. So
yeah.
fill us in. Tell
Well,
us.
we started, and the original idea is still there, even though we've got what the idea was is that we moved out to Missouri. Our youngest son came with us. Um, the daughter was in California. Now she's in Oregon with two grandsons. My mother and younger sister live in California. My other sister and her daughter and granddaughter, they now live in Wyoming, and my brother and his family live in Oakland area in California, plus Idaho and someplace else. And Jerry's got two sisters that live in Washington and the St. Louis, well, actually Illinois. But the intent was to share our lives, what we're doing to them, because it's easier to see it than to talk it sometimes.
Yeah.
His parents were still alive too. I don't know if they ever watched, but anyway, that was the purpose of this in the beginning. And we just call it Butler Family Farm. We've never changed the name from anything, start with a name and then change it or
Yeah.
update it or anything. It's always been Butler Family Farm. And I think the records say he got the account in October, and it'll be 4 years, I think, this
Oh,
fall.
wow. So you've
Maybe,
been around
maybe.
longer than I thought.
Well,
Okay.
I think it's going to be 4 years this fall. I have to think back a little bit, but he we got a camera. We don't use use my phone for shorts, but we got a camera, video camera, and we did videos with that. And he did it all, and he found a program to do the editing, and he was still working at that time. I don't know if he was semi-retired, because he actually retired, took early retirement in a sense, like at 62, because we crunched the numbers and we would gain more of his social security money that way than if we waited till he was 65. And he was getting tired of working. He drove fertilizer trucks and spraying trucks, and so he was up down, opening gates and then driving these big trucks and over these rutted lands. So he was ready to retire. So he did some of the videos, or he did most of the videos in the early days, and then somehow the camera got into my hands. I can't remember exactly how. I stood back from it because I thought, this is it. We're not going to do this. It's not going to last very long. I don't really want to get that too much involved in it. But eventually the camera got into my hands, and then I was doing the videos and doing videos, but I wasn't on video,
Yeah.
and I was talking, but I wasn't like on video. And then eventually, I just evolved into that. And I do most of the videos. And he does all the editing. We join up to talk about titles and stuff like that. We generally have a camera in hand or with us because you just never know when something's
Yeah.
going to happen. I was out.
Goes everywhere I go.
I was out a couple weeks ago. He says we need to open up the gates to this one paddock and put these other panels up so you can make the turn and have the cows go into this other field, but they can go into the first field that they've been there. So I was trying to do these shorts of this, and I'm standing there. I'm standing on this little ATV deal, videoing as they're going, finally moseying in, and in the background I said, "Oh my God, look at that. There was 10 doe that ran across our fence line,
Wow.
along our fence line, across the back." And I've got, you just never know when you're going to see stuff like I was
That,
amazed. There was 10. There was 10. It was
that,
weird. You have to kind of widen up the picture to see them. But yeah, that was really cool. And if I didn't have my phone going, you know, it wouldn't, I wouldn't have caught it. So we usually say, you got the camera, you got the camera. So that's how that's all evolved. And then we just, in our about page, I guess it is, I'm not sure, the opening,
yeah.
we tell you everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the sad, and
Yeah.
I even do the sad ones, and I don't like to, but people have seen, especially when it's the domestic animals, they've seen the dogs all over the house. Jerry does lives, and he's got the
Yeah.
dogs in the bedroom and whatever. So when you don't see him for a while, you think, I wonder what happened. So I tell it. And when we had a pair of twin goats born last year, and the mother, I think it was her second year, but the first year's babies didn't survive. I don't remember why, but I heard this noise. And when you have a baby goat, they have this cry of like, help me, help
I
me.
know they sound like children screaming.
Yeah. So I was out there in my back, I call it my backyard, but the part behind the house. And I looked out, and there's a field right there that has the horse. And then there's a couple more paddocks that the goats are in whatever. But I looked out there, and there's this little brown goat standing there, crying and crying, standing next to the hay bale. Holy crap, I thought. I ran out there, still wet. This is February, I think. Bundled it up. I try to remember to wear, thick jackets and maybe have a towel with me, whatever, because sometimes you have to bring them in the house. You have to get them warmed
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Calves.
Yeah.
I haven't lost any calves that way. Our moms have been really, really good with the calves. We haven't lost any to, like cold or whatever. But the goats are different because, like I said, they're Boer goats are used to, South African origin. So came walking back in the house very carefully, but I had this goat in my jacket, came in, and I called out to Jerry, and he says, what? He's doing something. So he's, irritated. And I says, we're having babies. I need help. So I brought this goat in. He starts warming up, and I went out to look, and for the mother, and the mother's in the next field over licking the second goat. She had twins.
Oh
So I
no.
brought
So
that
that's
one in.
one of
Yeah,
them. Wow.
yeah. So I brought that one in the house, and that one was really, uh, I didn't know she was going to make it, but I brought her into the house. So we had him in our bathroom, and we had colostrum, which you give him first off, and I had powdered milk to, milk replacer, so we're making up bottles, we're getting, containers together to get them all scrunched up so that they could get the heat, get all warmed up because they were cold. Their little hooves get cold too. You wouldn't think so, but their little hooves get cold. So anyway, out of that, the one that was crying the most, the first one I brought in, actually passed that night. And the
Oh.
one that I thought was going to pass survived. Jerry did a fabulous job. We had this goat in our bathroom. We had to climb over over the gates you put up to keep your cats out, or the kid gates. We had one of those across our bathroom shower area. We had to climb over that to get into the shower. Anyway, it was just fun. And she did really well. We tried to take her back out to her mom, both of them. Mother wouldn't have anything to do. She wasn't even looking for him. And so we had to, had them on video, made a video all about it. But Kitty survived, and she would still be alive today if she hadn't followed. I put her out with the herd, and she had, it was time for her to go outside. And there were some others that were her age, and they didn't really accept her in, but she survived out there, in the group setting, but not as part of the group. They're very,
Yeah.
what do you call it? Territorial, I guess. She didn't have a mother to protect her like some of the others, like the other ones did. So anyway, she was doing fine. Every time I went out, which is every couple of days, I was always counting. I was looking, and one day I went out there and I couldn't find her where she should have been, and she was on the other side of the fence. But we had calves on that side of the fence as well. And I
Oh,
think what happened is that she just got stepped on by one of the calves, or two, whatever. But she had followed an older female through the fence. And if she
oh,
had no, she'd still be with us. And that was very sad because people
oh.
knew our subscribers, they all knew about Kitty and all that. But you have to tell them.
Well, you have to be honest with
Yeah.
your viewers, because if you don't, they will, a
Yeah.
lot of people see right through you, and they're like, well, I'm not going to watch you because of that,
Yeah,
because you're not
exactly.
honest
Exactly.
enough with us. And I
Yeah.
have learned over the last 2 years that viewers prefer you to be more genuine and be yourself and do you, and not make up things or hide things from them, because
Right.
it's what they come to
And
watch.
to make your videos the lead-ins to your videos to be realistic and not like, oh, guess what happened today. That's just not
Yeah,
me anyway.
yeah, yeah.
I can't even fake it right.
No, me neither. And I make a bad job of being a liar. So
Yeah.
we're gonna mosey away from that a bit.
Okay.
Um so I know that you make quilts. So first question I'm gonna ask you is when did you learn how to sew, and did someone influence you or teach you how to sew?
My mother raised three girls on her featherweight Singer featherweight sewing machine. My dad was in the Navy, and back in the 50s, there wasn't much, dollar didn't go very far, so she would sew. And my grandmother also, I think she sewed too, I'm sure, but she was a knitter crocheter, so I got picked up those habits from her in a sense, and then my mom. But my mom was a sewer. And then, and in junior high, where I went to school, they had home economics, and they taught sewing and cooking and, all that kind of stuff. So you could learn to be a proper woman, for your husband, blah, blah, blah.
For a wife.
Yeah, wife, yeah. And my father said, no, you cannot take those during the regular school year. You need to take your core classes, and your electives need to be not educational, but more non-domestic. So we had summer schools, and they had those classes during summer school. So I would go to summer school and take sewing and cooking and all that kind of stuff. When my mother retired, she was 62 and a half. Will be 96. So I'm going to say, what is that? 60 years? No, that's
Wow.
not 60. It's 30 years. She decided to retire, and I was home on a medical leave. We lived down the street from her about 5 miles, and she comes up to see how I was doing, and she said, this fabric store is a quilt store. I said, oh, and she said, yeah, and they teach beginner quilting. I said, oh. She said, I think I'm gonna start learning how to quilt. I said, hey, Mom, that's a great idea. I'll join you. So that's how I got into it, was me and my mom sewing. Now, my second sister had already made some quilts and whatever, but she lived up in the Corsico, Fresno area, a suburb of Fresno, and she quilted and she knew about it. So she and my mom, because my mom was retired and my sister didn't work, I worked. They found a retreat, a 3 day retreat in, I think it was Arizona, and I couldn't go with them. I couldn't afford it, and I couldn't go with them. They ended up not going because of my grandfather, who passed the week following. But anyway, that's another story. So I felt bad about that for them, and so I started looking online, which was about.com back in those days,
Mm-hmm.
and I found a retreat in Oregon by Debbie Caffrey, who we were a fan of. She came out with the original noodles. She called them noodles and something else. I can't remember, which is now your 2.5-inch strips, a jelly
Yeah.
roll. Well,
Yeah.
she came out with noodles. So I say, hey, look at this. Why don't we see if we can get into it? And and I figured out how I could make it work. And so my mom got my sewing stuff and her sewing stuff and went up to Sacramento area to my sister's place. I flew into Sacramento and we drove there up to Bend, Oregon. When we got the instructions for the quilts, because it was an agenda, you just didn't go and sew. Well, you could go and sew on your own, but to us, the idea was to go and sew on, a planned out. We got the fabric requirements. We went to this one store that was, very popular, and my mom and I picked out this one pattern that we were doing. We actually had 3 patterns to pick from, and we didn't understand the whole thing. But the upshot of it is that we were going to make 3 patterns. We were going to make 3 quilts in 3 days. We'd never done anything like this before. And so we walked into this huge sewing room. Oh, it was beautiful. It's called Diamond Lake. It had this wonderful, huge window outlooking this lake. It was just absolutely gorgeous. But that was the year of 9/11. So that would be 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2001. In the middle of this, we're going up there in October, I think. I can't remember. September. In the middle of this, the store owner who's sponsoring this retreat and having this woman, Debbie Caffrey, come in, says, oh, we're going to make a flag. It's a Bargello flag. And we're going, oh my God. And that's the first thing. Can I just show you that? Because I found it.
Yeah.
Sorry. I've never finished it. I mean, I've got the binding on it. I've just never put the binding on it. But this was my Bargello quilt.
Look, wow, that's the first time I've seen a Bargello flag.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was pretty cool. But we had that thrown in at us on top of these other quilts. Well, we did eventually get each of us got one quilt done, but we uh, decided to go the next year and take my younger sister with us. And she was a crafter. She would sew things for craft shows. And she's been deaf since she was born or shortly thereafter. I'm not exactly sure how it all happened. So when we decided to go back up there, the store owner said the next year Debbie Caffrey was doing something in Australia. She was having this Linda Ballard come in. And so we thought, okay, we know the area and we know what's expected. We can handle this. We all knew that we were going to have to help Karen, my younger sister, because she was still wearing hearing aids, but when you're in a big room with lots of people and lots of noise, she generally turned them off. So anyway, we went up there the next year. We took her with us. This woman, Linda Ballard, says, I will take care of your sister. You are here to sew. I will help your sister. And Karen actually did fabulous. I think she did I know she did better than me in getting this quilt top done. I can remember the one I made that quilt, and I don't have it anymore because it was for my first grandson. But anyway, because this woman, Linda Ballard, was so kind to my sister, we all voted that we would go to her quilt retreats. And so we went to another one down in Santa Barbara, and then we started reading her newsletter, and we started hooking up with her in Weaverville. Anyway, she's been the lady that we've done all of her quilt retreats with. I've done some here locally with my quilt guild, but those are where you bring your own projects. They have little classes in between. They don't do a main project. Linda's quilts retreats are a mystery. No, are kind of a mystery quilt. You get the instructions, you get the cutout stuff. She gives you ideas of how light the values work and all this kind of stuff. And you bring your pre-cut materials with you, and then you start sewing the first night and sometimes on Saturday, and then she reveals what the quilt looks like, and then you see what you're actually making. And so
okay.
we've just always done that.
So what are you more of a traditional sewer, or are you a modern sewer? Or do you lean in between the
I
two?
think I'm in between. I've got I like patterns. I don't make up my own thing. I like patterns, and I can do my own color, type of thing. I like sometimes, depends on how I feel at that time, but sometimes I do fabric lines, like I like a fabric line and I see how it can fit with what,
Yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing, so I don't know if I'm really modern because I like looking at them, but I think modern quilts, I don't know, this may be a financial thing, but have a lot of space.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so then there's a lot of quilting. And so there's a lot, it just seems to me like it's going to cost more to have that top finished, the quilting part of it, the long arm part. And it really isn't. It's because it's by the size of your top.
mhm.
But in my mind, there's just a lot of quilting. And I guess I just like the color. I don't know. I just don't do, I like modern quilts, but I've not really made any. So
Okay.
I guess I'm a traditional, yeah,
Okay.
and a
So
scrappy
as
person.
okay. So as a quilter, is there anything you have learned that you wish someone would have told you in the beginning?
Probably no. I was going to say math part, but that I always find somebody to do that part for me. If I want to change a pattern or something, I get the math done by somebody else. But I don't, they told us in the beginning, the first class we went to, my mom and I, is that if you work, you're going to lose your paycheck. And I thought, well, what the heck does that mean? Well, you're going to, you're just going to get, evolved in. And I can see that. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Not me, because I buy within, my means, and somehow I've accumulated more fabric than I thought. I've got a lot. If I could find a really good scrappy pattern, I have a lot of scrappy, and I don't mind pulling it out of the bag and sewing it together whether it's supposed to match or not. But um, no, I think I knew I was going to get into an expensive hobby in a sense. And
Yeah.
I was, kind of limited. Do I really need that tool? Do I need that ruler? I've been very fortunate on my sewing machines. So, I've done, I just keep them maintained. And I think the one I'm sewing on now is like 20 years old.
Yeah.
But, I take them to get serviced. And, I have a little featherweight that I got from Canada one year. That was fun on eBay.
Oh, okay. Um, what do you like most about making a quilt? And yeah, let's do that part first, and then I'll ask you the second half of the question afterwards.
I like the piecing part of it. I like sewing it together. I like seeing it come together. And my vision, if I've changed things around a little bit, yeah, I like to see how it all comes together. So it's the piecing the top I like.
Okay, so out of making your quilt, is piecing the top the number one thing you like doing about it the best, or is there some part of the process of the quilt that you like better?
I like piecing, and I like the binding. I like putting the binding on.
I like
Oh,
binding too.
actually, let me backtrack. I like I like putting the tops together. I have, and I say that because I have a lot of quilt tops that are made from like samplers. In my quilt guild, we would do a block of the month type of thing, and so then you have to put it all together. And I like putting it together, and I like doing on point. The blocks on point.
Oh
I
yeah,
know
I
that
haven't done one
takes.
on point yet.
Yeah, I like doing on point, and I really like on my borders. I don't do all of them because I don't want to get bored with it, but I like doing mitered borders.
Cool.
I really like that a lot.
I want
And the
someone to
look of
teach
it.
me how to do mitered corners because if you, especially if you have one long strip where you're not have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Uh. Pattern first or fabric first?
Pattern. I gotta have a pattern first, and then I can visualize the fabric in it. I
Uh,
don't,
okay.
so
Great.
that cuts back on my fabric shopping because I just don't go and buy some, I shouldn't say, I don't buy as much something I have seen it. You know, I will some things, but not a lot. The fabric has to have a purpose,
Yeah.
so I have to have the
Um,
pattern.
what is your favorite type of quilt to make and why? Do you like doing piecing only or do you like whole cloth? Do you like applique? Which one out of all of them are your favorite?
The piecing, I don't. I've never. I have not done whole cloth. I've seen it. I've done small projects of applique. I wouldn't make big projects with applique because I use my quilts,
Yeah.
and I, you know, they get used, and so I wouldn't want that. I mean, piecing it hurts sometimes when the tears get in there because the dogs jump up on the bed. Sometimes they catch, you know, a few
Yeah.
threads or whatever. But applique would that would destroy me. I think if putting all that's a lot more work
Yeah.
than just for piecing.
What is the hardest thing about creating a quilt from your perspective?
Um, Finishing getting the sandwich put together for somebody to quilt it for me. Going out and getting backings. I don't buy everything at one time. I just buy what for the top, and then I got to find something for the backing, and so that takes some time for me.
Okay. How do you decide what pattern you want to make?
Um, well, a lot of my quilts are from my retreats with Linda Ballard, so she's already got the pattern. You don't have a choice there. And then the ones that I've put together myself from uh, blocks that I've gotten from my quilt guild, the block of a month kind of thing.
Mhm.
That's my patterns, and so of putting it together, and that's why I like doing it on point sometimes because you just have to, you know, it just doesn't
Yeah.
work. I don't like the 12 block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, kind of thing. I like to have something else to it.
Okay. Um,
I'm
how
not
many
sure I'm
quilts?
answering all your questions
No,
right.
you're doing perfect. You're fine. You're
I,
doing exactly what I wanted.
sometimes I go off on a ramble.
No, it's
Pierre
okay.
says,
You're
"Reel
doing
yourself
great.
back in. Stay on task."
And this is probably the first time someone's put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
okay. You're doing great.
okay.
You've calmed down. You're relaxed. You're fine. Okay. Well, how many quilts do you think you've made over the years? You
I
can
knew
just
I should.
guess.
I knew I should have counted. I would say, because see, right now I'm not in a funk, but I kind of am. I haven't sewn anything since October when I went to my
Uh-oh,
local
another
quilt.
one that's in a funk. Oh
Yeah.
no.
So I'm not, I was thinking about this the other night when I was thinking about talking with you. What kind of quilter am I? I'm a, I'm a part-time quilter because I know ladies, you that sew all the time. I mean, like from the, you know, they get up, they have breakfast, they start sewing, they have lunch, they start sewing,
Well,
you
that's
know,
not my day.
they mow the lawn, they, you know, they sew, and, you know, or they sew every day of the week.
Yeah.
I, and I feel guilty about doing that the way I do it because when it comes to spring and summer, I like to garden, and we finally got our
Yeah. See?
garden set where it's a less weedable one that if it was actually in the ground because we have this area that it's in has Johnson grass, and it's uh, a grass that grows on a rhizome. So it's not, if you just pull it up, you got to be sure you get the whole
You
thing.
got to get
And
all of it.
it just spreads. It's horrible. And I started my garden in that spot, and the Johnson grass just took over. And so I got very defeated by it. And so I didn't garden for a couple years. And then I learned about straw bale gardening, which is uh, planting in the straw bale. And so it's kind of like a raised bed kind of thing. So we got into that. And so I feel better about gardening now than before. And so that's like into spring, summer, you know, into fall sometimes. And when you're out there doing all that work and then to come in and sit down and sew, it's like, are you kidding? So I don't
Yeah.
do a lot of sewing during that time. And I always think I'm going to do more in the fall when, you know, I can't go outside, fall, winter, and all that. But I haven't gotten back into it right now. It's not that I don't want to. I guess it's a little break. I have a friend that I can go to her house and sew with her. and I need
Oh,
to get back to that. Her mother passed away right after Christmas. So I need to get back with her probably next month and go at least once a day, one day a week, a couple
yeah.
times a month, something like that. And that's where I'll get back into my sewing. It's easier
I
to
can,
do it someplace else than at my
yeah.
house.
Yep,
Trust
yep,
me.
yep. I
Somebody
could
always
tell
needs
you,
something.
I could tell you that if I was still in Florida, I would not be a quilter. I didn't start this quilting thing until I moved here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a master gardener of 52 years,
Oh my goodness.
and so I spent all my time outside and with
Yeah.
horses. That
Yeah.
was my life until I moved here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe later in life. Well, now I am later in life, but I might have picked it up. But I probably would still be outside.
Yeah.
That's just who I. That's who I am, and
Yeah.
it's changed
My
a lot.
mom,
Been
yeah.
here.
My mom, she started when she was 62 and she was retired. So she went to a couple of retreats a year. And then when she moved up to Clovis area 20 years ago, she got with a group and they did freedom flags quilts. And then my sister started doing a quilt retreat in her area because she wanted her daughter and her daughter-in-law to be able to go, but they couldn't afford to go off. They have kids and all that kind of stuff. So she started a retreat with Linda Ballard, and my mom would do that, and then Kathleen, she started doing two of them. But anyway, the COVID came along, and my mom turned 90 that year, and we were going to do a big party for her, and she said, "No, we're not going to do the party. I don't want family coming here. I don't want friends coming here and then go home and be sick. I'm not going to be, I don't want that." And then they canceled the retreat for that spring retreat. They canceled that for the same reason, and others down the road. But at that time, she turned 90 and her brain went click. She doesn't quilt. She doesn't uh, knit. She doesn't crochet.
You shut
She
down.
not reading books. She watches TV. She has certain little shows that she watched. My sister had a dog for a while until she got, she had, can't, anyway, they had to let her go over the rainbow, but they used to go walking with the dog twice a day. And now at almost 96 in March, she just, she gets up, walks to the bedroom, to the bathroom. I don't even think she goes upstairs. She got rid of all her sewing. My sister packed all her sewing stuff away. She gave away her sewing machine to a niece, a great niece, or one of Kathleen's nieces, I think it was. Anyway, and she doesn't do any of that stuff. And if she has to go someplace, which they got out of the habit of doing because Karen did all the driving, she sold her car, blah, blah, blah. It just clicked, So you just never know when that's going to happen.
So, what is your go-to thread?
Um, Aurora Ariel, Auril. Yeah.
Okay.
That sound familiar?
Or are you talking about Arfil?
Thank you. Yes. See, I've been away from it. I can't even look at the labels. Yeah. I use
Okay.
that.
All right. So, what is your go-to sewing machine?
My Janome.
Which one?
Well, it's a quilter's dream.
Oh, I've not heard of that one. I'll have to look that up.
It's an older model.
How many sewing machines do you have?
I have two, and the main one is the Janome. It's sitting out all the time. And then I have a featherweight that I think it was made in 1935, and I use that
Oh, nice.
2 or 3 times a year because you have to use them.
Yeah. This is a Janome.
Is it? Yeah. That's what my sisters and I all started with was Janomes, and she sent me this one. She had several machines and she started divvying them out. And she sent me this one, and I went and had it serviced, and it was in pretty good shape.
So, I thought I heard you mention knitting and crocheting. So, what other hobbies do you dabble in? And yeah, tell us about that.
Well, knitting and crocheting for sure. It's just to me, it's relaxing. And I hooked into a couple years ago um, a gal from Canada who does a dishcloth a year. She does a year thing, and she picks a theme. I don't always go with the theme, but I knit a dishcloth a month based on her pattern, which is learning some new stitches and whatever. So I've got 2 or 3 years of that, and it's just nice in the morning because my hands are starting to get are stiff when I get up. So if I come out and crochet or knit, even if it's an hour maybe, even if that, then I'm a little bit more limber up. I just finished a temperature dishcloth. Instead of doing a temperature blanket where it's just, I would get bored with it, I would never finish it.
Yeah.
But the temperature dishcloth is by the month with the picking the highest temperature of the day and have a color associate with that temperature range. And you knit 2 rows a day. And that's it for that one.
Okay, so
I
that
don't
sounds like you do small projects to help
yeah,
you stay busy.
yeah. And I do have I need to get back into it, a weaving project that is with this I inherited somehow, this big wide white cloth in rolls. I don't even know what came with it, but I've cut it up in strips, and my son made me the loom based off of a YouTube video I saw. And I've started it, but it's to be a bath mat in my bathroom, and I need to pull that back out because that's like evening kind of stuff to do. You don't have to really focus on it too much. And that's I read. I'm a reader. I read before I go to bed, and I think that's it.
So what kind of books do you read?
Well, I'm trying to finish up Boys, Boats and Boys in the Boats, where it's the Washington row team that, and it's based on a true story, but they went to the Olympics, and I believe they won in rowing. But it's just the struggles of that going back and forth. I've read quilt series books. I like Jennifer Chiaverini.
Okay, one other question, then we're going to take a break for your trunk show. What do you love most about YouTube, and what do you dislike the most about it?
I like how I've met people through it that I probably never would have met. And some of them I've actually met in person besides just, seeing them, their videos. I kind of dislike the part that, and I try not to let it happen. Even I have to monitor Jerry on it. I don't want it. I don't want us to get sucked into it as being our only thing, know. And that can happen because when he got us monetized in May of 2023, I think it was. And he was on everybody's live, in co-hosting with lives, because we were getting ready to possibly lose a chunk of hours, 500 hours that it rolls over, by the year. And he didn't want to lose it. And so he wanted to get us monetized. And he did that before he had his knee surgery. And that was his goal. And so we just, I just get sucked into that stuff. Now it doesn't bother me as much, when he's talking to his friends, because I've met these people that he's talking with a lot of times. And so, I know them. It's not just a face on a screen.
Yep.
And it's nice. And that's why we do, we go to the several YouTube meetups each year, is to see these people that are too far away, but that are still friends that we can, get together with them.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to spotlight you, and I want you to show us however many quilts you want to show, and tell us a little bit about each one, and then when we get to the end, then I'll pick up and do rapid fire with you.
That's right. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. What, rapid fire?
No, go ahead and start showing me your quilts.
Okay, so I need to, does it look dark on your side? I mean,
yeah, you might need to turn another light on.
Yeah. Is this too much?
Oh no, that's perfect.
Okay. So
I wish it had that on the whole time.
Well, I don't like, okay, so I'm going to move things back a little bit so I have a little bit of room.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. I've been eyeballing the one that's on the back of your sofa.
Well, that one is yeah, let me there's this bar here in my way. Okay. I need to see how the camera's going to do. Okay. So this one is actually like a table topper, and it is embroidered,
Oh, that's
but
super
machined.
cute.
It's machine embroidered, and it was a class that I took. There's chickens, which I guess the chickens might be my favorite animal. I don't know. That's what I always start with is chickens. And it's just there for decoration. So
Yeah.
I showed you the Bargello.
Yeah. Will you re-show that one more time and hold it
Yeah,
still?
this was actually
Someone will ask about that. Hold it up a
it's
little higher. Oh, there we go. Wow.
Bargello part is the wavy part.
Yeah, I've never seen a flag Bargello. That's interesting.
And this was done in after 9/11, so that would be
Okay.
2001. I don't remember all my stuff. I have a list of my Linda Ballard quilts, but I don't know where it's at. So this one is what I was talking about.
Oh,
This handy dandy little microphone down. Shoot. Can you hear me now?
yeah.
I feel like the Verizon commercial. Um, this is one of the tops I made from blocks, and we did it was a half square triangle exercise, and each month we did a different block,
Mm-hmm.
you know, type of thing. But I had to make up my own design to do that, so that's where my
That's
borders came in.
great.
Yeah, so there's that, and most of my tops are big ones. I don't have very many little ones, if you want to call it that.
Okay.
Because amongst the people in my sister's quilt group, when we do the retreats in California, is go big or go home. I thought, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's a lot of money on fabric and stuff. Now this one I really like, and it's supposed to be. It's for one of the grandsons if I get it finished, which I'm going to try and do. Remember the Polaroid cameras?
Yes.
You know how it popped out? Well, that's what these are
Oh,
Polaroid.
right. Yeah.
And then I wanted it wonky, so I can't remember the technique, but they're not
Looks
square.
like yeah. It also looks like you did paper piecing or something on it.
No, I have done that. I like paper piecing. I like Carol Doak's way of doing it. They're just there's a term for it. I can't remember what it's called. But
Okay.
anyway, they sit diagonally. These are odd sizes that go around.
Okay.
That was my design. And I did make one small one because I wanted to do it. Linda Ballard has some health issues, and I didn't know if this was her last retreat, and so I wanted something, one of her last patterns or whatever. She's still going strong, but
Oh, that's
this is more of
pretty.
a tabletop.
Wow. That's pretty.
And some of this fabric is mine that I pulled out of my stash and took with me. My middle sister has her own fabric store in her closet. Not really, but she has a lot of fabric because she doesn't buy just a half a yard. She buys 1 to 2 to 3 yards, that kind of thing. This is a happy quilt for me. I just like the colors.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Sampler quilt. Let's see. And then I think I picked the border first. When I do buy fabric, even if it's for a pattern, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I pick the border first and then pull the rest
Oh,
in.
got
I mean,
you.
this is my inspiration most times.
Okay. That's pretty.
But anyway, this is probably a twin size if it was all, folded out. Now this one I did, and I started. Yeah, I think I did it and completed it in San Diego. It was a class I think I took, and it's a king size. I really need to get this finished, and I liked it. It's thimbleberry fabric, and I liked it because these are all just strips. The border was all strips, but the
Oh,
blocks were these big 16-inch, I think, on point, and they're all different.
Well, look at that.
And I like the colors. I kind of like the colors of burgundy with the gold and green.
Yeah, that's
It,
beautiful.
it's on point because here's the setting. Here's the setting triangles.
That's awesome.
And then this one, I need to get put together and sandwiched up and whatever. It's all made out of grunge material. Moda did
Mhm.
that.
Yep.
And my son picked the colors. I picked the pattern, I think. He picked the colors and I put it together for him.
That's beautiful. I'd like to
It was
see. I
really,
wish you could hold the whole thing up.
so would you call
Wow,
this modern? Would you call this kind of
that
modern?
looks pretty modern to me.
Yeah. But
That looks beautiful.
we went on to and this is really a handy tool to have. I haven't done it since, but and he's 6'5". So
Wow.
I had to make it, when I made quilts for him, I had to make them long enough for him to, get covered up. But I think it was a class in my guild that we did. You go on paint companies
Mhm.
places and get paint strips when you like something, and then that helps you pick your colors for the quilt. So he this was some kind of rocky shore kind of thing with the blue, and then it had kind of a sunset in it, and I was able to find grunge material that he liked, but he actually picked all the colors, so I thought that was pretty cool. This is another happy quilt because of the colors. It reminds me tropical. And
Yeah.
Linda Ballard pattern. I don't remember the name of it. I like it, but I don't. When you're picking your fabric and thinking it's all going to work until you get
Hmm.
there, and you're going, oh my God, I don't know. And she comes out and she says, well, now do you like it? And you say, well, yeah, I do. And she says, then that's all that matters. If you
Yep.
like it, that's all that matters. Who cares what anybody else says? But
Yep.
anyway,
It's beautiful. It's
it's
happy.
very bright and cheery is what I thought.
Yep.
And then this one is kind of the same thing. I really like this one too. It's kind of that orange. And I
Oh,
like
yeah.
the border.
All those warm, yummy colors.
Yeah, yeah. Now this Linda does she calls a double mystery, and it was third, I think it was the third retreat we did with her, and it was our first retreat we did with her up in Weaverville. I remember that. It's called a double mystery because first off, the pattern's a mystery to you anyway, no matter what. So that's the first mystery. But then she makes the offer of buying material for you for your quilt and cutting it.
Okay.
And that makes it the double mystery. So then when we all get up there, we pick a number and then you get a shoebox. The only condition is that you cannot change. You have to use the fabric that you got.
Yeah.
So my fabric was all but the black stripes.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
And she cut all these pieces.
Are those batiks?
Huh?
Are those batiks?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Oh, wow.
They remind me of lizards, actually. Lizard or snake skin in a
Just
sense.
gave me an idea.
Yeah. But did I put these on point? No, these are like 16-inch blocks. But in order to break it up, because I was using the same fabric for the border, and I have this right here. I wanted to
Yeah.
put black, so I added this black. But this is one of my very first quilts I did. And I go back and look at my seams and stuff like that. And I think, holy crap, what are you thinking? This is my last one to show.
Okay.
It's called it's her pattern, Linda's pattern. It's a Casablanca. It's like fans from the
Uh-huh.
Casablanca. And it's my husband's quote, and he's a hunter, and so I put flannel on the back.
Nice.
And it's
It
just
looks
long
like it's
enough for
been
him to,
used.
yeah, it's long enough for him to stretch out in the recliner and
Okay. Yeah, I figured you'd get in a fight with that microphone.
Anyway, so there's quite a few more, but I thought that kind of gave you an idea.
Yeah. Okay. That was a lot of nice looking quilts you showed us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you still hear me? That's the main thing.
I'm waiting for it to catch up with you.
I guess this is it. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we
go. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some crazy little questions. Okay. The first one is what is your favorite guilty pleasure?
These little cookies that you get on what are they called? You get when you fly on American Airlines. It's the snack they give you on American Airlines, and I found them in the grocery store, and I can eat the whole package by myself, and nobody knows I have them.
Can you fix your volume a little bit?
What, the volume?
Yeah.
Oh, how's this?
That's better.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do one from quilting. What is your favorite quilting tool?
Seam ripper.
What quilting item do you wish you had invented yourself?
Oh, wow. The needle threader.
Okay. What was your worst quilting disaster and were you able to fix it?
I know I've had some, but I don't. Well, I guess it's the latest one. My latest project is turning 20, and I didn't read the directions very well. And so I'm just sewing along. So I'm putting rows together. And then I look at the directions, and I was supposed to alter the blocks. So, yes, I can fix it. I haven't yet, but I can fix it, yes.
Okay. What would you like to do in the world of quilting that you haven't already done?
I don't know. Oh, I would like to hand quilt something small, not big, but small. And yes, I would like to do that.
If you could personally watch someone make a quilt, who would it be?
Ricky Timms.
Oh, that's a good choice. If you weren't, well, let's see here. Tell us something about yourself that might surprise us.
I was a smoker for 20 years.
Okay. What is your favorite color and why?
Well, I've evolved. That was blues and greens, but I like orange and grays.
Okay. Oranges or apples?
Apples.
Okay. What is your favorite sandwich?
Tuna fish.
Sorry. No, it's okay. What song, just keep in mind, if there was only one song that you were allowed to hear for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It's from that commercial that the guy does with his son, and he does this little dance, and it shows it going through the years, and then he gets at Christmas. It's a Christmas thing, but at Christmas a box starts ringing, and it's his son on the phone with his son, and he starts playing that song, and they're all dancing. I like that song.
I don't know the name of the song.
I could listen to that all the time.
Okay. What advice would you give? We're going to do this as a two-parter since you have a farm. What advice would you give to people who want to start their own farm homestead?
Really research what you want to do and lay out your farm. What I mean is where your house, your chickens, your barns, your corrals, lay it out so you aren't changing it down the road and costing more money. Really think through your plan.
Okay. What advice would you give to a beginner quilter?
Be patient. Don't go fast off sewing on the machine. Take your time, but be patient and read all your directions, all of them before you start.
Okay, suggest 5 tools that every beginner quilt maker should start out with, and tell us why.
Well, you need besides the sewing machine or just tools.
Any tool.
Any tool.
Sewing machine.
Well, you need a sewing machine. And you need an iron because pressing is so important. You need a good light, a good chair. Posture is really good for the chairs. And what else? Some good scissors, not your little cheesy cheap scissors, but some good scissors.
Okay. All right. And so let's see here. What 5 skills should a beginner quilter learn about to help them become good quilt makers as they learn?
You really need to know your 1/4 inch seams. You got to get that down pat, sewing it. Your pressing needs to be spot on. You really need to take your time on that. You need to decide whether I used to wash my fabric. I don't anymore unless it's red. I just start using it. So you have to decide if you're going to wash and iron your fabric before you start sewing. What else?
Just one more.
Just listen to the advice of people who have been doing it for a while.
That's good answers. Okay. So is there anything else you would like to tell us about you and Jerry that you haven't already mentioned?
No, we've been together so long, we almost finish each other's sentences sometimes, good, bad, or indifferent. We talk things out on our plans, what we want to do and how we're going to do it. He he is the thinker of the farm. He's not the brain. I don't want to say the brains, but because I've come up with some ideas over the years, but he's the one that comes up with the plan, and then we initiate it, and that's really good. He's the kind of guy, and I don't know where he gets it, but he knows things. He just knows things, and and I always question him, and I just always do, just to keep him on his toes. But he just knows things that I get surprised by it all the time.
Yep.
So it's it keeps life fun.
Well, one other thing I wanted you to tell us is tell us the name of your channel and when you have your lives and things like that, so that if someone wants to go and watch your or go to your channel and subscribe, when can they look for your lives and whatever pre-reports that you might upload?
Well, right now I think we're putting out 2 videos a week, and then the rest of the week we fill in with shorts because it doesn't take that much time, and you always have something going on. But the channel's name is Butler Family Farm. We have a live on Monday evening at 5:45 Central Time. We're on for an hour. We do giveaways during the live, and we talk. And sometimes we have a panel, sometimes we don't. The channel has, I heard him say, I think he said we have 1,800 videos out there. He's got playlists built for, all different things. There's the different animals and we do YouTube. He does live stream on when we do YouTube meetups, so you can be there, kind of like be there by, with us. And yeah, it's been going that long.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so thank you for coming and joining me to let me do this podcast with you, Susan. I really appreciate it. And I want to tell everyone, thank you for coming to watch our premiere of us talking with each other. Y'all have a great day and see you on the next live. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.